What's up, people? I'm Shaggy, the opinionated hippie, and today I'll be continuing down the Jethro Tull live release rabbit hole. This is a review of that album. There will be no video clips of it. I've been going in order. After I did the studio albums, I realized that I'd only heard one, Bursting Out, their first, so I'm now doing the rest in the order they were released. And I did have to skip one. There was one prior to the release of this. This came out in 2004. There was one released in 2002, Living with the Past, which was, I think, mostly from a 2001 concert. I could not find that album. Could not find it on streaming. Could not find it in my library. I don't know anybody who has it. It is available on Amazon, but I already spent my monthly allowance on music, and I'm very tight about that budget. Otherwise, it will balloon ridiculously. So I will eventually get around to that album, but for now, we're skipping ahead to the next release, a 2004 release of a 1970 set, Nothing Is Easy, live at the Isle of Wight, 1970. This is from August 30th, 70. This is on their benefit tour. So they had released 3 albums. The next one they would release would be Aqualung. There is one Aqualung track on here, and that is it. But this is a pretty fantastic show. This is them in their sort of blues rock territory. There were moments on here that kind of remind me of Hendrix, kind of remind me of Cream, kind of remind me of a very 1970-esque blues rock, vibe. Kind of loose, kind of jammy. Everybody gets solos, like literally everybody gets solos. But it's a really neat, loose, not that proggy, though there were kind of moments that would sort of hint to the progginess that other people would say they had that they would later indulge in once they found out that people considered them a prog band. But yeah, and the bill, they were between the Moody Blues, who I'm going through their catalog elsewhere, and Jimi Hendrix, who they kind of sound like at times. The sound is not that fantastic. The sound almost kind of sounds like You're There, where it's just kind of this wall of sound. The vocals maybe step up, or a soloist or something like that. It's not bad, but 1970 at a festival. So let's take that, take that with a little grain of salt, that it's not going to be the best sound quality. Considering some of their other live albums have really good sound quality. But really just good, loose fun. I think Martin Barre, I would have to say, is the star, though the entire band sounds amazing. Bass player, the drummer, Anderson sounds fantastic. His flute playing sounds fantastic. I like the song selection. We get some interesting songs. We get a song yet to be released. We get a whole bunch of stuff on the previous albums. Get some stuff that had only been on Living in the Past, so had not yet been officially released on a studio album. Really interesting stuff. So opens up with My Sunday Feeling right out the bat. Really good, high energy version of this. And before they play it, Anderson was like, yeah, this is from our first album with Mick Abrams. Martin listened to the album and learned the parts. And when Martin steps up to drop his first solo, just 100% yes. He's bringing energy. He's bringing attack. He's bringing a little bit of I don't know, viciousness is the right word, but there's Martin Barre intense, almost, I don't want to say metal energy, but there is that very incisive guitar playing that just kind of cuts through everything else. And just, we have to focus on it. It is so good. It is so tasty. But yeah, absolutely amazing. Anderson is playing flute like crazy, between every line, if there's any sort of break, yeah, Anderson's on the flute. And then when just the first moment Barre comes in, it is so good. The second song, and I'm pretty sure this is the actual set list. I did some research. The set list for this set is the same set list as this release. I'm assuming those are objectively correct. I'm assuming that the set list I saw was not just copying this. But the second song they play is My God. And it's, for the most part, My God. There's a couple lines that are changed, in this live version. Anderson specifically referenced Catholics, where on the studio version, I think he says, you know who, instead of saying the word Catholic, so he's not as specific in the studio version. Here he is. He's going after Catholics. And it sounds great. You got the full-on intro, the acoustic intro, but that first drop when the full band comes in, oh my gosh, that is so good. It is so sick. Again, Barr's guitar playing is just as good as the rest of the band sounds. When Barr comes in, it just hits harder. We get the flute breakdown. We get the whole part in the middle with that. Yeah, just really, really good. And Barr just sounds nasty once he comes in. He is aggressive. He is at it. He is going for it. Like Hendrix is following. Barr knows Hendrix is following. Like Barr's trying to impress because Hendrix is following. Barr is impressing. Absolutely fantastic stuff. Third song is With You There to Help Me. Another one, they have that sort of fake drop, dun, 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 dun. And then when the band finally comes in, again, it's just awesome when that full band drop happens. There's a breakdown in the middle of this, and they insert By Kind Permission Of in the middle of this, which was on Living in the Past, which is pretty much like a piano flute sort of solo interaction jam type thing. A pairing. It's a very nice pairing of flute and piano. Goes really well in the middle of a With You There to Help Me. Really nice, really cool. Like I said, everybody gets a chance to shine in this. Everybody gets a solo at some point. And then at the end of it, they go back into, like, for about the last minute. It's what, the whole thing's 10 minutes. At the very end, they pretty much play With You There to Help Me. They insert By Kind Permission Of. Then they go back in With You There to Help Me. And the transition back into With You There to Help Me is awesome. They just kind of all of a sudden just ramp up the intensity and finish the song. I will say that, like, it is interesting to have, like, My God, and then all of a sudden you have, like, a flute solo in the middle, pretty similar to this studio version. And then you have this song with, like, a piano solo in the middle of it. So there is something about the flow that the first couple of times I listened to this was a little like, okay, maybe they could have saved this or rearranged the set list. But the more I listened to it, the more I was like, okay, this is absolutely fantastic. The fourth song, I think, is the highlight for me. This and the closing numbers, To Cry You a Song. They go into Cry You a Song, like, with confidence, with swagger. The tempo slightly faster than the studio version. It's just, that riff is incredible. That groove is incredible. The solo is incredible. The drums, the bass. To Cry You a Song, I think, is probably the highlight of this. And then, well, a couple songs at the end, which we'll get to. But it, like, stands out. Like, as good as the first three songs are, and as sort of like, you get a This Was song, My Sunday Feeling, awesome, the first song they released. You get a My God, nobody's heard it before. You get a With You There to Help Me with this, like, nice piano solo. But then they get to Cry You a Song, and it's just like 5.5 minutes of no-nonsense blues rock with an absolutely fantastic riff. That's followed by a pretty straightforward Beret. I will always mispronounce it. Includes a little bass solo in the middle. We get the bass solo. Bass is getting a little love. Pretty straightforward Beret. Pretty much sounds like the studio version, but with a little more energy. They're taking the awesome energy from To Cry You a Song. It's definitely bleeding into this and giving this just a little bit more life, though this is always a fantastic song to hear. And then next comes a really, really nice treat. We get a Dharma for One with lyrics, with vocals, with the lyrics. It's not an instrumental version of this. We still get a drum solo in this, but on the studio version, the drum solo is after like a minute and a half of pretty kind of upbeat blues, slightly psyche, pop, just energy. This is a whole different beast. It comes in heavier. The groove is heavier. The vocals are fantastic. They're jamming it out. And we don't drop into the drum solo until like 5.5 minutes into the song. So it is an entirely different beast than the Dharma for One that was released on their first album. Just a whole different song. Absolutely fantastic. Way more aggressive. Way more dramatic. Way bigger. I don't know if this was something they did in other parts of their career. So far, Dharma for One has not been on any of these live albums that I've done so far, so I really don't know. But it was really cool. It's really neat to hear this, and it's like over 10 minutes long, though we do get a nice meaty drum solo in there, like on the album. That follows up with a pretty hard-hitting, straightforward, high energy. Everybody's locked in. Nothing is easy. Fantastic song off Stand Up. High energy, kind of feels loose and jammy. The band knows this song. They're inhabiting this song. They're feeling the song. Everybody's just in top form. I mean, they feel like a jam band. They feel like a really loose, well-oiled jam band machine. We're not getting extensive solos, but everybody's just like, everybody's feeling it. Like this great blues rock energy. And then after that, we get what is one track on the CD, but could be 3 separate tracks. We get a We Used to Know, which is amazing. Absolutely fantastic. We get the whole song. We get the opening. We get the really long extended guitar solo jam at the end with like a slightly different vibe, a looser vibe, a rockier vibe, and maybe a slightly, I don't want to use the word funk, but just there's something, a little more energy in it, a little more like they're definitely not trying to simply replay the studio version. They're loose, they're free, they're expanding the corners and doing whatever they can. We pretty much get an entire We Used to Know, and then it kind of fades out into silence, and then Bard just starts playing these riffs, and then the rhythm section comes in. I don't think Anderson there's no flute in this part, there's no vocals, but we get like a 3.5 minute guitar-led jam, but the drums and the bass are there. And this is absolutely fantastic. It could be indexed as its own separate track because even though it eventually will lead right into the following closing track, For a Thousand Mothers, it's not For a Thousand Mothers. It's kind of a different track. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they didn't give it to him because like Ian's flute solo is in My God, but he doesn't get a separate track. Who's the piano player's name? I'm so bad with names. John Evan gets his piano solo in the middle of With You There to Help Me, but he doesn't get a separate track, though he could. Clive Bunker on drums gets his solo in Dharma for One. Martin Barr, Glenn Couric gets his bass solo in Beret. This is Martin Barr's solo, though it's not by himself. He's with the band, but he's just going out there. He's dropping these awesome, tasty riffs. And I mean, it's just absolutely fantastic. And when he's done, they just slide right into a really awesome show ending, set ending, very climactic, complete with ending going back into the song as it does on the album For a Thousand Mothers. That is just really tasty. Yeah, it's riotous, it's raucous, it's great. Yeah, man. There's even a part in it where they kind of break it down and Anderson starts singing the vocals in like a little breakdown way, and then they go back into the high energy. It's just fantastic. This was a really good listen. By far, out of all the ones I've heard, I think everything I've heard has been like contemporary. So like Bursting Out was 78. The stuff in the 80s was around. The stuff later on was 90 stuff. So this is the first release that's been from an earlier incarnation of the band, or at least them playing, more of a blues rock vibe, before they kind of, lean more into the prog stuff. And it's good. It's good. Like, I don't think the solo spots are necessarily a say. It is like with you there to help me. It's like song, we break away for a solo, go back into the song. So there is sort of maybe not a slightly less than organic feel to some of the solos. Like, we're just going to drop them in these songs, but the energy is so good, and the transitions in and out of them are usually pretty satisfying. The transitions usually into them are like a cold stop and then we go into it. But the transitions out of them usually serve the song really well and are pretty satisfying. And I was trying to remember, there's some really great groove when they come out of that With You, by kind permission of going back in it, With You There to Help Me. The groove that they play, I cannot, it reminds me of some other song, but in a really cool way. Then they quickly go into With You There to Help Me. But yeah, I absolutely love this release. The sound leaves a little to be desired, but I don't think it's enough to make you not enjoy this. I think the set list is fantastic. Alternate version of Dharma for One. You get just awesome jam energy from all the band members. And Martin Barr. I think Martin Barr is the winner of this one. Martin Barr, this is his show. This is him like, hey man, I'm a force to reckon with in this band. Good stuff. Where would I rank this among all the other ones that I've already done? I have it at number 2, right behind Bursting Out. I think I think it's bursting out clearly number one. This one is also kind of clearly number two. Then maybe there's a little bit of a gap before we get to 3, 4, and 5. And that number 3, that's from the Under Wraps tour, which was surprisingly entertaining to hear some of the Under Wraps material in a live context. I'm kind of hoping that somewhere down the line there's like a complete Under Wraps show. I'm interested in what more of those songs sound like in a live context. But yeah, but that's where I would rank it at number 2, and a confident, easy, secure in that spot at this point, number 2. But yeah, that's what I got, man. Yeah, if you haven't heard this, I highly recommend checking it out, especially if you are a fan of those first 3 albums, because this is definitely, or more even the first 2 and 3. If you're a Benefit fan or a stand-up fan, this is that kind of energy, and Martin Barre sounds absolutely amazing. All right, subscribe, like, share, comment, do those things, and go listen to some live Jethro Tull, people. My appreciation for them is so much greater now after doing this little series. I'm loving it. All right, thanks for watching. That's all I got. Peace. Talk to you later.